Hi, welcome back to Metabolic Monday. I so want to say Manic Monday, the Bangles song, but that's just me. This is going to do my head in. Welcome back. Tonight, first, we've got apologies from Al, who normally would join us. He's obviously a paramedic and he's got some bits and pieces he's got to do with, probably deal with an ingrown toenail. I'm just taking the mickey out. But we've got the lovely, gorgeous Lydia, our super carnivore bod. And we've got a special guest tonight in Jonathan Griffiths, the fantastic carnivore muscle and current medalist winner. What is it? What do you class yourself with? What you've won?
Mr. Universe, first professional carnivore bodybuilder. I don't know. One of very few pro athletes that follow a carnivore diet, I guess. So yeah.
Right. Well, me being the comedy of it said, if you've missed the universe, mate, it's the first left on the right, okay? But no. I couldn't help that one, sorry. Too easy for me to go. Right, so the first subject matter I wanted to talk about was an article I saw on the BBC about more young women in their 20s are getting type 2 diabetes. And when you look into it, it was a really poor written article, really. But the subject matter was interesting. That statistically, in the last 10 years, more women in their 20s are become type 2 diabetic. I think we as a collective here know, but obviously, Lydia, you being still in your 20s.
I wish.
What do you think when you see something in that respect?
Something that surprised me when I saw that article, because I think a lot of girls sort of in that sort of 20s category, they're sort of down the gym and things like that. But I think it's just the rubbish food and how much sugar and shite is in food that's obviously having an impact on their diet. But most people you see in that age category, they're quite heavy into their gym. I thought probably wrong.
You would tend to agree. However, if you look at the statistics, the waistline on ladies now in the last 10 to 15 years is about 1.5 inches as an average wider. And I'm saying men are any different. 3 years ago, I had planets going around me. So, so I think that's probably a part of it. And it's people using, I mean, I'm an ex-sales guy. I can make any statistic sound brilliant. So, but when I looked into the article, it was poorly written, but I kind of get what they're saying. There is a trend. It doesn't surprise us because we've seen it. Jonathan, do you want to add anything to that side of it?
Yeah, well, the latest sort of survey we had found that 1 in 7 people in UK were in fact gym members. My question is, how many of them are actually users? Now, my thought is that there's less people now proportionately that actually go to the gym but own a membership. Now, think of how many of us have actually got all these memberships online, like for, I don't know, I've got a member of a sock company. I get through the post every month. Membership for Netflix, membership for Tesco delivery, all these extra things. You might not necessarily use all these things. So it's a bit of a false dilemma in that case. 20 years ago, if you had a gym membership, you probably used it. Now, to address the female side of things, there are certainly more women in the gym now. My personal anecdote has been that over the last 5 to 10 years specifically, there's more women now that go to the gym that are at a higher level of training, as in they're more likely to be elite. So if the average man is, say, at the gym 5 out of 10 physique-wise, the average woman might be 6 or 7 out of 10. But the contrast to that, which is probably quite surprising, is that this feeds into a binge eating tendency. People in the fitness industry, if I go into Google or watch online, I've done my bodybuilding show, I've done my fitness event, I've been to the gym, I've earned my protein muffin, protein cookie. The thing is, because they're subduing themselves so much with their food during the week, they're just eating chicken, broccoli, and rice. When they binge or overeat to, treat themselves, my theory is that they're actually overcompensating. So rather than having a bar of chocolate each day during the week, like a little Freddo bar, 20 grams, whatever, if they're that now, they might be doing a block, like a 300-gram bar a day, plus a Domino's pizza. So I think that's why. So I think the sort of binging tendency is definitely being pushed forward in that sense. Outside of that, more women now are using birth control than they were perhaps 20 years ago. That may contribute to hormonal imbalances, which might affect their leptin, their mood, their appetite. Outside of that, I mean, I could be here all day, but they're probably the main reasons in my head.
That's a very good point. But interesting enough, I had a meeting last week, and it was a little cafe that's attached to a gym, a Pilates, and all that. And there were some very lovely ladies there, all in their lycra. Every one of them having a coffee, a milky coffee, and a cake or of that nature, coming from the gym. So what you're saying is quite correct. They kind of think they can reward themselves, and I'm saying guys are just as guilty. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-females at all. I love them. If I was a woman, I'd still be a lesbian. Probably the wrong inappropriate line to use there, but never mind. But
I can't hear you, Carl.
Hey?
All right, probably best you didn't on that comment. Right, but basically, I think you've got a valid point. I hadn't thought about the contraceptive thing, so that actually makes a lot of sense as well. And I think our lifestyles, we have got less active than we were 5-10 years ago. So you gain that all inputs.
One other point I have here, which is probably more rather than supportive of the idea that diabetes is more prevalent amongst young women, which women in general. I'd probably say that they're testing things now. People are answering the surveys more now, so sample group might be bigger, which may be less or more reflective of what is actually happening in the general population. So, for example, that article, that might be an article looked at by a researcher, a journalist, a few weeks ago, a month ago. They've pulled that out from data from a survey which might have been 10 years ago. So it's not always a like-for-like reflective piece. So I'm just speculating here, but I'd be quite sure if it's one of those churned out things, like it comes out like it might have been 10 years old news. Oh, eggs are bad for you now. Well, the next 10 years, eggs are good for you, sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, that's a valid point, and because I've noticed, I don't know if it's because my appeal or whatever, but the people I'm finding that are following my Facebook, my YouTube, my other channels are very much the 40 plus, where they've had issues, they're trying to find a solution, and they're finding channels like mine and Lee Copus and Carnival Bod and probably yourself, Jonathan, where I was surprised that 27, as Lydia said, were on the increase. But as you say, there's a number. We just lost Lydia, unfortunately. I think the signal just went, but we'll get her back in a mo. I do feel so. While we're going, are you a pirate or anything, Jonathan? Have you got a treasure trove? Because someone has she's back. I didn't know if you got a treasure trove, but someone's donated 1,000 jewels for you. So you can say
Joe is the treasure.
Is that right? Oh,
So I couldn't hear you, Carl, so I had to go off.
No problem. Don't worry. Most people try and not listen to me, so don't worry about it. You're not alone.
Selective hearing works.
Yeah. Isn't that always the way? But anyhow, so you got 1,000 jewels there, Jonathan. From there's a few. I think these are some of your. I love some of these names.
I thought I'd stream it to my channel. Because mine's a little bit bigger. I thought that way we can cross talk and.
Absolutely,
so I'm just want to encourage people to follow this gentleman here. Your channel name should be on the screen somewhere.
It's Primal Lifestyle. It should be on there, yeah. So I do a more sort of investigatory sort of bits and pieces and interviews of various parties as well as this crazy live stream. So there's a comment by here. I also argued that 20 years ago, Cadbury's chocolate. Very good point about Cadbury's chocolate. That's a very good point because it's all palm oil now. So I've just got a visitor. Hang on. Someone wants to say hello. Oh.
Hello.
Oh, Christ. This is my weightlifting. 30 kilo bloody English Bulldog. This is Donald, everyone. If he doesn't see who he sees on camera, he'll keep sort of whinging and moaning. So thank you. So goodbye, Donald. You've done your bit now. Go back to sleep. So that's a really valid point because it's interesting that food seems to be shrinking, but the price doesn't. but the ingredients are becoming worse. More oils, more palm oils, and all that in there. So I think that's a absolute spot on and valid point. We've got another comment here. Quick question.
You should get Jo on the channel at some point when she's got a bit of free time. She's been carnivore for like 6 years, I believe. Technically a bit longer.
I'd love to do an interview with Jo. If you're up for that, Jo.
Jo, and she uses GLP-1s, so she might bring a bit of a contrasting kind of perspective towards their use compared to what the mainstream carnivore narrative is.
Well, Jo, if you're interested, my email is thecarnivoreme@gmail.com. If you want to drop me a note, Jo, I'll set up a record and whatever, and we can do an interview on yours, and I'll add you to my stack of interviews of various people. So really, thanks, Jonathan. That's a good tip off. Quick question. Is gym and hair loss related? Well, I don't know if that's aimed directly at you, Jonathan, or not. I've noticed young rip lads are losing. So is that to do with the testosterone, or I always say that wrong? Testosterone.
No, if I'm honest, it's largely genetic, and that isn't a cope on me as being a male. I actually shave my head because I prefer to look this way, easy to maintain, less to wash, stuff like that. But yeah, my hair was falling out faster. It is genetic, largely speaking. It's not so much about the testosterone, it's about conversion to DHT. And if there's too much of other circulating hormones in your body, that causes a basic cascade, which means that you can no longer have new follicles of hair, which proliferates things like male pattern baldness, prostate growth, things like that. So it's not necessarily testosterone, it's like it's the DHT that you're looking at in terms of how it converts. Outside of that, chronic overtraining is a stress. High stress levels are correlated with hair loss. So if they're stressing their body out, they're doing too much, then they're in a contraindicated space.
Because I've noticed since I've been on carnivore, even though I've still got a bit of grey hair, my beard has gone darker. I literally had a white beard 3 years ago, and it's now, apart from this lit around the chin, I'm not sure if that's some full fat cream staining or what, but I've noticed that my hair's actually got darker. I don't know if that's anything to do with the diet, whatever, but I'm predominantly meat and eggs is pretty much my diet. I don't do much other.
It could be the zinc. The higher zinc intake in animal foods will help block DHT. It's also helpful for the coloration and maturation of new hair growth. And if there's too much, if there's too little copper in your system, i.e. just a standard Western diet in a lot of cases, then what you find is you actually have less hair production, lower thyroid output, and things like that. So yeah, when it comes to hair growth, it is largely to the trace minerals.
Yeah, so I do a lot of fish, so I don't know if that helps as well. So Lydia, you being young and youthful and all that, do you have any hair loss issues or things like that, being on this diet?
It's a really bad line. I can hear Jonathan really well, but I can't hear you well, Carl. It keeps being intermittent. But I thought hair loss as well as a sign of undereating. Can be.
Stresses. Yeah.
Good point. I'm just going to double check I'm on the right mic. That's all.
I can hear you okay, personally, but
right. So that's just Lydia and her hearing is female. She's obviously selective hearing with regards to me. Wonderful comment here from
Carry on.
another one from Kimberly. Oh my goodness, that is the cutest thing ever. You don't have to say that about me, Kimberly, but I'm assuming you're actually meaning Donald, my English bulldog. But I'll take it as a compliment to me. Just quickly going through, make sure because there's a few in the room.
Hello.
I love some of these names. I absolutely love some of these names. Donald is the cutest. Oh, Donald, you've upstaged me already again. Perhaps next week I'll have Donald on in place of me. Probably be more popular. Jonathan's prime rib is mad. He cancelled his channel. I don't quite.
Uncle Charlie is someone that is what I call a troll. They go around the carnivore space online. They make little jabby comments and they misrepresent what people say. It's not accurate at all. That what happened. All that he did was he took a few days off, or he's taking a few days off content creation. He's still actively on channels talking about live stuff, but basically it's just an annoying troll that goes around and people just
I love
leave
him. I encourage
Yeah.
him. I get him on. I love it. I love it, especially a vegan. Absolutely love a vegan.
Yeah.
Bit of
can't
salt.
eat a whole
They're
one.
fantastic. Yeah. So just going through, as you see, we've got the lovely George. Good evening from Somerset. I hope it's nice and sunny there for you, George. Hello, Nottingham, Marine, Tennessee, Suffolk, Kent. Let's get yeah, but isn't that great that we're appearing everywhere? We're all over the show. We're like an infection. That's in the nicest respects. I do use the wrong terms, don't I, on most things. Hey George, sending you lots of love. So that's brilliant. Right, so the second subject matter I was going to get on to us to talk about, and I'm happy to take any questions from the floor. Jonathan has got more knowledge than I probably ever saw ever in a library. So, please fire in the questions. But the other area I wanted to talk about was light and metabolic health. And the reason, just before we came online, I was talking to Lydia about it. Sarah Pugh, who spoke at our Kent event, did a podcast quite recently with another professor, and she's followed it up with a part 2 of it. And I was listening, and it was amazing what she was talking about, the effects of light, red light, blue light, how it affects the metabolism, and the whole shebangle of it. And I found it absolutely amazing. Do you, Jonathan, do much with regards to the light side of it?
Yeah, quite a large amount. It's something I've been using myself for about 3 years. I don't expose myself to blue light throughout the day. Apart from if I get out my girlfriend some traveling, there are instances where I won't be able to follow all my protocols. I do have blue blocking glasses, just like you. I have a yellow pair as well for daytime viewing if I have a lot of screen time. I have a red light therapy panel which is currently broken. I believe in blackout curtains at night, personally, but I have to avoid using it. So I have this light to the side of me, which you kind of see sometimes. It's a red light. It doesn't cause me any sleep disruption, really. And getting up in the morning, 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight, ideally somewhat direct light exposure to the sun in line with your iris. It's probably optimal. Helps time your circadian rhythm. What it will do is actually build up the melatonin stores in your pineal gland, which will be secreted at night time throughout the day. So it's a bit like acts a bit like a gallbladder. It sort of builds up the hormone, builds up the bile in the gallbladder, stores it, and secretes it when it needs it. So it's quite an unusual hormonal mechanism where it's not like you go to bed, your growth hormone increases, cortisol gets down, things like that. It's more of an opposing thing. So you do the intervention at the start of the day to get the benefit at the end of the day where you want to sleep.
Okay, because in one of our earlier metabolics, Al was pointing out about light, and that because I've got 2 screens here in front of me, so I get low. So that's why he kind of talked. But I was quite proud of myself because in this podcast they were talking, and the other professor was saying about that certain blue light glasses don't work where light can get in through the sides. Oh, sorry, my bloody camera. Where light can get in through the sides. So it's my camera. It's got one of these automatic twitches. And the ones I've got are wraparound. They're goggles, really, rather than like similar to yours. And he was saying about they're the ones that really work. They're the ones that make the difference. Where if you allow light to creep in, it reduces the benefit, which I was really surprised at, but quite proud.
Yeah, it's a physics thing, really. So you've got the greatest concentration of the melanopsin in your where your pupil is, where the dark bit is, then the iris, then in the area around the eye, so where you'd usually get like a black eye sort of thing. We'll see the concentration of that receptor is greater and denser the further towards the iris it is. So yes, it's better to get wraparound ones, but peripherally, if you think from the side of the angle, the amount of light getting through into the retina, bouncing through the walls and refracting off the surfaces to then get into the pineal gland and the brain is quite slim. So it will make a difference, but if you've just got the normal ones, I wouldn't be rushing out to buy new ones.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's sun blocking is better than no blocking at all.
Yeah.
I think this is a comment going back to the first part of the subject with regards to why, body shapes are changing and all that. Talking about candy and soda companies changing deep balls and corn syrups, beside other strange stuff. Way back in the 80s, sadly, I remember this quite clearly. Yeah, there's just so much now added, cheaper, nastier ingredients to make it more profitable. Unfortunately, profitability is the driving force, and then healthy people don't make money. That's part of it. So some other comments here: quality and expensive produces them down, price stays. Yeah, as they say, what they call it, shrinkation or something, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
I saw something the other day, and I can't remember what it was, and I looked at it and I thought that can't be the same item that I remember. Now I know my hands were smaller when I was younger. It was a wagon wheel. That's right. One of someone next to me had a wagon wheel, and I couldn't believe how small it was. And it's just ridiculous. It's all about profitability. So there's a few conversations going here between George and others. I don't really want to bore everyone on that. What's this one? Texas City, God bless. Okay. Just trying to catch up today. Carnival Muscle. Thomas has passed ahead of video. Was that twatting? Sorry. I'll make a note. I'll stop even highlighting that one.
Yeah, he doesn't realise he's a troll, but he goes round to all the channels and asks them all the same question. They answer it, then he asks them the same question again, and he's like, "What's the point?"
Well, all I will say is come on my channel and I'll have some fun with you. I love it. I do stand up and I know how to put people in their place. So quite happy to indulge people like that. What we got here? There's more conversations going on between the chat. Questions, people. Questions. I want some questions. So it's just nearly got through to what's here. How do I? Right. Is this a question? How do I ensure I don't overact on carnival, especially when adding fat? I'm coming from an obese position. Right. Can I just add a little bit on that front? Oh, I don't have the picture that I thought I had on here. Never mind. I can show. This was me, basically 4 years ago. He says quickly while he's trying to find it. So talking about obese, I was 22-ish stone. I know I was so embarrassed to weigh myself. I don't know what my actual figure was. So coming from an obese perspective, I went mad when I did it. I went full pelt, no sort of gentle in, had all sorts of issues, toiletry issues, etc. for a few days, and then found it. And I find eating fat, the more fat I consumed, the more fat I lost. I still don't understand that logic, but I did find that was massive for me. Pardon the pun. But Jonathan, do you want to sort of respond to that side of it?
Yeah, I know roughly why that happened to you. Some people do report that as an anecdote. In terms of a carnivore diet, you have the protein and the fat lever. The protein amount is absolute. You need an amount to grow hair, go to the gym, build muscle, stand up, exercise. So that's a more finite bracket. If you go to the gym 10 times a week, you'll need more, obviously. Now, fat is where the different part of the component comes in. So fat satiating. If you're coming from a diet before which was deficient or kind of lacking fat soluble vitamins, which are where fat soluble vitamins come from, animal fat, so A, D, E, and K, and there's more B vitamins in the minerals in the animal meat protein. So if you're deficient and you have some, you're supporting your body to detoxify more efficiently, lower inflammation, things like that. Fat intake actually creates something like 10 to 15% metabolic water exchange or output. So when you have, say, 100 grams of fat in your diet, 10 grams of water of that will be created in the oxidation of that fat, and then in the mitochondria will then turn that into low mass water, so light water. So there's heavy water and light water. Heavy water is high in deuterium, which has more mass. More mass going through the mitochondrial membrane will then have a more less efficient way of creating ATP. So your body becomes less efficient at creating ATP when you don't have the right amount of fat in the system. Now, if you're having animal fat, that is a low-grade deuterium animal food, or fat food, basically. If you have something like sugar, that might be 150, 60, 70, 80 parts per million deuterium, whereas something like lard might be 110 parts per million of deuterium. So you've got more efficient mitochondria. You got something like, depends on what fat it is, 20, 30, 40, 50% more efficient way of creating water, which means that your own body's water that holds intra and extracellularly will be more appropriate, less inflammatory, and let your metabolism run more efficiently. So that's one mechanism. The other mechanism is that if you're getting your energy supply, what you need each day, ATP, energy, whatever that comes from, protein, carbs, or fats each day, from a high ATP yield substrate such as fat, that will then give you lower other excess matter, less waste. So you'll find that your guts are less inflamed because you're taking in less mass of food. Therefore, you got a smaller gut, less inflammation, less food to turn over. You also drop excess body fat as well. And if you're not constipated like you would on a standard Western diet, your fibers low, carbs are low, sugars are low, then your mitochondria will be running more efficient, as I mentioned. What else? The other one is if your fat is very high, it's very satiating. So by default, your mass of other substrates, protein or carbs, will be lower. So mass, your body composition, Carl, is a direct reflection of the mass intake that you have. And this is something called the mass balance model. And this is postulated around about 2021 by Francisco Arencia Albaita. Type mass balance model, Francisco, into Google, you find it, PubMed study. And they found that the best predictor and determinant of long-term body composition outcomes was the mass of food that you take in. So next time someone says to you, "Oh, I want too many calories," don't think about calories. That's the output side of it, which we cannot measure.
Calories are a unit of heat.
A unit of heat, yeah. So we're looking at the mass of food. So mass in, mass out is a better like-for-like comparison of what comes in, what comes out, than energy, which is an arbitrary number of something else, which isn't actually computed or directly correlates with the energy ATP input side of it. So there's 3 reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the other one I'd add, because I did increase the fat intake, I very quickly went to 2 meals a day, then to 1 meal a day, and then accidentally fasting an entire day without even realising it. Because you said with the fat, it's more satisfying, it's more filling, easier to do, that I didn't feel the need. I worked on when I was hungry, I would eat. And I found very quickly I went from the standard 3 meals a day to literally 1 meal a day, and even sometimes then I miss. That's a very valid point here from Feral Grandma. Weight loss starts in the kitchen. So that's very, very true. Just trying to say, I do apologise. I'm not sure if my mic is picking up, but Donald is now snoring. So he's found this whole conversation too heavy going. Jonathan is my go-to info. Oh, there you go, Jonathan. That's one of your many, many fans.
Charger Mopar Rick, well worth an interview. 42 years carnivore.
Wow, these are the people I want to get on my channel to do.
You need to ask Carl.
Story.
Carl, ask.
I need you as my agent.
Parts.
Yeah,
and I've been around these parts for 9 years. I know all the.
These them are parts. This be the way I
these parts.
Right, another BSV report this weekend showed that South Italy are suffering type 2 diabetes increase, especially in their children. Volt Longer is running the fastest program some youth orgs there. Thoughts, please. Does anyone want to comment on that one? I mean, Lydia, you've been quiet for a minute.
Yeah, Lydia, go for it. Apologies for dominating.
It's all right. No, the sound is really bad, but I can hear you a bit better now. I'm just reading the question again. Sorry.
You have to stand on one leg and put your finger in your ear.
I suppose it depends on how old the children are.
But it's noticeable more children are obese now, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't know if I agree with sort of fasting for children. I think it depends on how old they are, because it doesn't say how old, does it?
No,
especially
but,
girls.
yeah, but you know, but is that a part of, you know, I know when I was in my day, when it was horse and cart and that, I walked to school or I cycled with
Yeah,
my mates. I was only a couple
yeah,
of miles away, but I would walk or cycle with my mates.
mm,
How often are parents now dropping kids off
yeah.
at school all the
Well,
time?
so last week my son left school for good because I'm homeschooling, but he had a leavers party and I was in charge of the food. And I went to the local shop and I bought all the stuff that I know a load of 10 and 11-year-olds would like to eat, because I'd rather it have gone. And he was sick that night. And every time he over indulges in food that he doesn't get fed by me, he is sick. And I always,
Right.
and he woke up in the morning and he said, "Why was there a sick bucket beside my bed?" And I was like, "You threw up." And he was like, "I don't even remember it." And he woke up absolutely fine. But to me, it's my way of saying to him, that is what you've overdone really, really bad food, and it's your body rejecting it. So I'm making realise it's just bad food choices. But to be sick after, and that's happened a few times, so it's got to be related. But yeah, the foods you see around, and even they're more conscious of it. We're walking around, and obviously it's school holidays, and they're seeing what other kids are eating and drinking, going down the street with a can of Coke, and they don't get it because they're not allowed it. And obviously for children to have that kind of really, really poor diet, and you
Mm.
can see it, I think, in their behaviour and everything.
Well,
That's
I
my
often on a
thoughts.
Saturday, you'll see kids do football practice or training, whatever it
Mm,
is they do. And where do they head to straight away? McDonald's.
McDonald's.
I was going to say
Yeah.
pub.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was in my day. It was the pub, you know, straight
We
down the
don't have any
rugby
pubs
club, and
now. We've got no
yeah,
men's socials.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you want to add to this comment before I
I
move
think
on?
she supplied a really good answers. I mean, we're seeing this now with typically healthy countries or countries which we were deeming to be part of the blue zones years ago. You know, Blue Zones is a book, by the way, guys. It's not a study. It's a book, like a
Mm,
fairy tale, fictional. So look at China. We always typically in the West we think, oh, China, they're healthy, they're slim, but they're
mm,
getting more insulin resistance than pretty much anyone other than
mm,
Mexico. You go to Mexico City, there's a McDonald's on every corner. Children are
mm.
walking out the school gates at lunchtime having a McDonald's. So imagine the same thing's true in what we could typically consider other healthy countries, Italy. You know, Italy's meant to be all Mediterranean diet, which we know is not what they say it is. So I think we're just seeing a transition from blue zone typical style diets to Western style diets. Really, they're just catching up with us, basically.
So no, that's a valid. It's interesting because we have someone here from India, which is interesting because certain parts of India are vegetarian, and obviously certain meats are sacred and are not eaten. So that must be difficult in India to continue the kind of diet that we have. I'm
They,
just quickly
yeah,
checking if
they
I've
they
missed a
do
question.
chicken. They do a lot of chicken and dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
not much beef because the rate of infection in their cattle is very high. Lydia might know quite a bit about that already, but if we look at when we look at the infection rates of animal foods, we're not seeing it in every Western country. We're just seeing it in more deprived countries,
mhm.
versus in affluent sort of countries. They're not going to be able to, you know, have all their animals, keep them in a healthy sort of way that Lydia would keep hers. They're not being given the right medications if they need them. They're not being separated from the herd if they're ill. So that's why they don't eat as much of that food, is because one, it might be sacred, and if they did have it, they're not keeping them infection free at a great enough rate.
Right. I kind of, yeah, it makes sense. Here's a compliment for you that Anne Copus,
Lee's mum
obviously Lee Copus's mum, a fountain
is.
of knowledge, Jonathan, a fountain of knowledge. You know, I can't argue with that. You are obviously very knowledgeable in the areas you're. Oh, got a
We've
question
got,
here,
got to
Jonathan.
compensate for something.
Yeah, I try and smudge it over with comedy, but clearly not that good. Right, Jonathan, what do you think about people using resistance bands? I've received many sets lately. Looking at your opinion on them, because you actually in your speak at the Sourdown, you used one there, didn't you? So, please,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah, so I just checking out Scrum. Yes, this is a very lovely lady. She makes videos for music for Healing Humanity. She's got so many audio created tracks. She's an amazing woman. So this is in the context of who's asking, so I'm going to give it an answer which is reflective of her knowledge base level, basically. They're good in that they give you some resistance in peak contraction. So if you're doing a bicep curl, you get a lot of tension at the top, but none at the bottom. So it's almost like maybe half of what you get out of, I'd say maybe 70% of what you get out of doing a full rep with a weight that has a full loading pattern from the top to the bottom. So you're still going to get most of the benefit, just not all of it, because when you lower the weight, the hard part of the movement, which is the concentric part often, you're not actually adding resistance to it. It's becoming easier. So it's better than nothing, but not the best thing to do. I think it can help build stability in the joints. It's low impact, so you're not going to like damage your shoulders doing it. It's good that you can adjust the resistance. So the further you pull a band apart, the more tensile strength or tensile strength there is in the band itself. This is very safe and versatile that you can take anywhere. So between us guys, I might be doing another competition on Saturday. What I'm going to be doing backstage is using a resistance band, just like what you guys would find at the gym, just to pump up a bit. So it still does give you some benefit. It's just not going to give you all the benefit. And there's some movements which you can't do just by virtue of the band itself not having a loading pattern compatible with what the body might actually need in a functional strength resistance fashion or example.
And in your demo at Sourdown, you showed the benefit of doing really slow movement as opposed to controlled rather than pumping it, because you're not getting the benefit from it. And it's interesting because a friend of mine's a trainer at a Premier League football club, and they use the bands in warm-ups more to get the twitch muscles active as opposed to the main muscles. So I'm assuming there's a benefit from bands.
That's correct, yes. So if you think you're going for a walk, it doesn't take much active cognitive effort to walk. You just do it naturally. Low effort, low exercise intensity, low oxygen debt to the body. Now, if you move faster, you have to recruit more muscle fibers over a unit of time. So they're called fast twitch muscle fibers, not slow twitch. And you'll know they're working because when you move, when you're holding it and you can't squeeze it any harder, you know that these fast twitch muscle fibers are actually activating because they're actually physically twitching. You physically see them like piano keys. But the slow twitch ones, when you're doing endurance movements, you can't see them twitch. When you're running, you can't visually see it. So basically what you want to look at is using an active warm-up, you're giving the metabolic system the sort of the fine-tuning, the sort of flick, the awareness, the skill pattern to say, turn on, turn on, turn on. But you're not actually loading the muscle to the point where you're depleting yourself. So they're really good warm-ups in that case. So it's like trying to score a goal. You sort of start off, you might just kick the ball into the goal, just from the penalty box. Then you might adapt that to running, kicking the ball into the goal, into penalty box. Bit harder, a bit more skill development. Then even harder than that, you'll do the same again. You'll do it against a defender, so you got to then think of more things. So the harder something is, the more effort and intensity you put into it. Therefore, the more fast twitch muscle fibers you need to activate in order to respond to the problem in front of you. So therefore, you get more muscle fiber activation. So that is a good way to warm up, in my opinion.
Okay, Lydia, do you use bands or anything like that, or do you do any weights to maintain that superb physique that you have? Can you hear me, or have I got to do sign language?
Oh God,
Lydia, can you hear me? Our Roman reporter's gone offline.
It just keeps breaking up.
Right.
Shall I read it out, Lydia?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah. So what do you think about people using resistance bands? And the lady who's asked the question said she's received many sets lately and she's looking for our opinion on them.
No, I don't think she's getting us. No. The magic of live live streaming. Right, so here's another comment here from Photo Steve Hayes. I can see there, or Photog Steve Hayes. I've seen posts in carnival groups on Facebook, and folks are eating mountains of food. I can't stomach huge steaks, ribeyes, and 10 eggs in a meal. How do you know if you're under eating? So before I go to you, John, because you'll give the very detailed answer, for me, through this carnivore journey or low carb journey that I've done, I've learned to find out when I'm hungry and when I'm not. And I can sense when I want eggs or fish or meat or fat, not necessarily all on the same plate. So I kind of listen to them. And that's why I've done the channel as the Primal Lifestyle, because I'm trying to get back to my primal instincts and working on that side of it. So that's my simple answer, but I'm just a layman. Jonathan, over to you.
Yeah, I think your approach is correct. Obviously, ancestrally, we would get what we're given. If we live next to the sea, one day we can't find anything in the sea, we'll go inland and catch something else. But yeah, for largely speaking, all things being equal, we can access the food, which we can. Yeah, go for the food that suits your taste buds. It makes perfect ancestral sense. I think for Steve, who's a great chap, by the way, I think that you should maintain your body weight, assuming it's at a body state that's sensible. So if you're not over fat, you're not underweight, you can still actively perform your job, your work, whatever you do. You're not overly tired, you're not waking up in the night hungry. Following your hunger signals is probably beginning to be the biggest key. The challenging part that a lot of people find, in my experience, is that they don't quite understand, just because they haven't had the experience yet, of understanding true satiety versus appetite for whatever else. So some people want to have that feeling of fullness, bloated. Oh, I've had 30 eggs today. That's a lot of eggs, to be honest. Probably don't need 30 eggs. But then there's other people who might be, well, I might have 30 eggs, but I fancy having it throughout the day because I have a lot of food focus. I think about food all day. So in that instance, you're kind of looking at what is a sensible middle ground. And I think if I was to be asked what was the average male doing, that's just, moderately active, maybe off this job, they go to the gym a few times a week. Average body weight, I'll probably be looking at 1.5 pounds of meat per day. So that's mainly ruminant meat. Maybe 4 to 6 eggs per day, maybe a few rashers of bacon. That's about what the average person eats, in my experience. And it's usually about 2 meals per day for men. But that's a very broad bracket. That's not prescriptive. So if you did that and you'd lose 5 pounds in the first week, maybe you'd do the same again, but eat 4 rashers of bacon rather than 2. So yeah. Just be sensible.
But before I go to Liddy, because I want to get Liddy's point of view here, I find when I eat raw beef as opposed to cooked or part cooked beef, I find I eat less because I'm satisfied sooner. So I don't know if that's got anything being raw and uncooked. Don't know, but I do find that when I do raw meat, especially raw mince, I find that I eat less. Sorry, Lydia, do you want to?
Yeah, it's a slower degree of mastication.
Yeah.
It takes longer to eat.
Right.
Sorry, Lydia. I think for women, I think it all depends on your cycle. I know sometimes what I can put away is probably what Tom could put away. And then sometimes it's just like a bottomless pit. I just keep eating and eating. But then I think, well, if I'm hungry for it, then it's obviously my body telling me that I need to eat. But I think it's quite hard sometimes to eat to what you think you need to eat because it seems like a lot, or sometimes it might not. It'll be the other way and you think, I should probably be eating more than that. But I think as long as you feel full but not roast dinner full where you can't move, I think that's kind of the good point to go to, isn't it? But yeah, I tend not to go to that extreme of like, I can't move now, I've eaten too much. It's just a feeling, isn't it, of knowing that you've had enough.
So another thing I've stopped doing is I used to always have a glass of water when I was eating, and I now no longer consume water while eating, and I find that gets me a better balance as well. And it's kind of a related comment here, talking about under eating. So it's kind of related, and and they're suggesting, is it better to fast a couple of days or tweak my eating schedule and amount? So, does any of you want to sort of comment on that side of it?
Lydia, you go first.
So I'm just trying to read the question again, so remind me on my phone. Yeah, I don't. Only personal preference. I don't fast, so I'm probably not the best person to ask that. But I mean, I do sort of fat fasting and things like that. I find that a really, really good tool. If I feel that I need to have more fat, I quite like doing fat fast for about 2 or 3 days. I find that sort of puts me into a good sort of a reset where I feel that I've eaten enough, and then I know, I can sort of reset myself again, because you just
But
feel so full, don't you? And just fat.
You also do the sardine reset, don't you?
Yeah.
You use that as a sort of a
a bit of a
stopgap,
tool.
don't you?
Yeah, I just find if I know I've overdone it, then that I use those as tools to sort of reset myself. And then obviously with the fat fasting, Christ, it looks like I've just had a bowl of fat through sort of 3 times a day, and I'm just completely full.
Not got the greatest signal there, Lydia. Lost you again now. Do you want to add anything towards that,
sorry.
Jonathan? Oh, you're back again.
So
Good.
Okay, carry on, Lydia, if you can still hear us.
Oh no, it's fine. That's fine. You carry on.
Right.
All right. Well, knowing Wendy's personal, intimate health background, my suggestion to her as an individual would be to eat daily, a large amount of eggs, and lots of oily fish to support her health in what her current condition is, basically. It's her own individual stuff, but I think most people should or probably will end up eating most days, typically 2 meals a day. I would probably stick to most people having the same amount of meat, then just interchanging other things they want. So they might have like a pound of meat per day. They might have eggs one day, bacon the next day, oily fish the next day. Go by feel, as Carl's mentioned earlier, with like the ancestral kind of sort of efforts, I guess, or techniques. In terms of fasting, they're useful tools. I think most people overuse them, and I think they can produce unsustainable outcomes. Because if we look at long-term outcomes in terms of what an average carnivore diet 5+ years is doing, they're eating every day. Obviously it's not something to study, but I know very few long-term carnivores that are doing, I fast once per week, or I eat 3 meals, one day, then 1 meal the next day. It generally tends to be about 2 meals a day for most people. I would be looking at the mass of food over a given period of time, above all, because like you said, food, the physique is made in the kitchen, if that's your goal. Your body fat levels are made in the kitchen. So the biggest impact you're going to have is how much food are you eating over a given time, what allows you to adhere to that diet to reach your goals or maintain what you're currently doing for your output activity, blah, 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 is going to be what's going to give you the long-term sustainable results. So, like I said, it's a tool. It's not something most people do. It's like an overhyped influencer video topic thing. It's not something most people do, to be honest.
I think you're
ask.
right. I think there's an element of social media where they have to say something that's bigger than larger, better than different than actually just saying, I've just ate some eggs today and a bit of meat. It's all about a little bit of sensationalism. That's just a personal opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. George, yes, meetups next year. I'm hoping we can get a couple of really good meetups on again next year, as well as my plans to get some mini meetups. Lydia's hoping to do something in November, isn't it, Lydia? Or was it October? I can't remember now.
Yeah, October, hopefully, like a big Halloween meetup.
Yeah. But if Lisa wants to get in contact, let's get her on the roster, because I like the fact that we're making these meetups international. So please point them in my direction and I'll happily get to... Right, so there's a comment here about India. I made a comment, fewer Indians are strict vegetarians. See, that's my lack of knowledge. So I used to have 2 or 3 Indian people work with me and they were all vegetarian. It might be something to do with the area they were from whatever. But I do know some Indians. But you're right, what Jonathan said earlier, they're big consumers of chicken. And I know that because I used to export shed loads of chicken from the UK to India. And the weirdest thing there, nothing to do with carnivore diet, was we used to send grade A chicken to India and we used to bring grade C chicken back into the UK from other parts of the world, which then went to the likes of KFC, etc. So we were exporting better quality chicken to other countries and we were bringing in lesser quality. So just bear that in mind when you're tucking into your KFC. Hopefully no one here does such a silly thing. But and that's actual fact. So I've now got after I asked George. So it's trying to work out between George talking to others and making a comment here. More George. Now Carl, what's this? Now Carl's talking my language. Actually, it was him that made me go. Oh, we're talking about raw, George. Yeah. I mean, George, you're better at raw than me. Do you go raw at all? And I don't mean like a lion, Jonathan.
Personally, no. And not because I think it's bad or there's any inherent real significant probable risks. It's just it's really hard to eat over 1.5 kilos of raw meat a day.
Yeah.
Really hard, really difficult. So for me, it's about palatability because I'm an excess body weight, excess body mass. I can't eat ancestrally, if that makes sense. I have to add dairy, add butter, add eggs, where other people might not.
Right. Yeah, so because a lot of people get a bit squirmish and fear. You don't do raw, Lydia, do you?
We have tried it, and when we was on retreat with Sarah Pugh, we tried it, and I was actually surprised I didn't mind it. We've not done raw mince yet; that's a go-to, but definitely the steaks we found that quite enjoyable. And Tom takes them to work now like that, just because it's easy.
Yeah.
So I think on the go, if that was something that's easier that you couldn't cook or take like mountain of boiled eggs with you or something like that, then I think it's definitely an interesting way to eat.
Yeah. I find the fattier the mince, the more tastier it is. But that's probably because I've got I'll I like to try and eat British as much as possible to support the farmers and all that. But if you can find someone that does the British meat and the fat, I go for 20 plus, sometimes 25% fat content. So if you get a bit of a toenail, you get a bit of a toenail. It's all protein, isn't it?
Extra collagen.
That's exactly that. And I'm loving my bone broth at the moment. My butchers has managed to get some fantastic leg bones, which makes the most amazing bone broth. And I have bone broth. I tend to sometimes not eat that day because I find that I'm getting the satisfaction from there. So there's another comment here from Kimberly. I found that fasting actually causes my progress to stop. There is such a thing as fasting too much. I've been carnivore for 6 years now. I eat about 2 or 3 meals a day. So I would agree. The longest fast I've done is 4 days. I've never done a dry fast. I've just done a food fast as such. But I switched to, after seeing Lydia doing it earlier in the year, when I want to, if I feel I'm a bit overdone it, I'll do the sardine thing. And, I love sardines with loads of salt on it, and I just eat them raw that way. But, I mean, do any of you guys want to add to this comment about fasting?
I can give some background on her. So she lives with hypermobility and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So for her, fasting would be very contraindicated, especially given the fact that she does resistance training and she's a bodybuilder. So for her, it's not bodybuilding and fasting don't really go hand in hand for what you're trying to achieve. But what's your take, Lydia?
I think it's when I remember sort of having a research about it, that sort of 48 hours is plenty for women to get it's gone on the tip of my tongue now, but it was something that happens at 48 hours, and men can go to 72 hours. But over 48 hours, it's just no point. It might have been something. There was something else. It was Dr. Shawn Amara talked about it. Yeah, I can't remember it now, but it was 48 hours was the limit for women, and if they go over, it's worse. And I think with cycles, and especially if you're not in the menopause category yet, I don't think it's wise. I think women who've gone through menopause, it's better for them. They can fast easier. But I definitely think for women who haven't, then yeah, that's why I give it a wide berth. I don't see the point in it, to be honest.
Well, that's a valid
That's
point.
just my view.
That's a valid point because, Jonathan, I was always told when I did my judo training, I was always told when I did physical, more cardiovascular than muscular training, but if you go over 40 minutes, you're wasting your time in the time past 40 to 45 minutes. So, like Lydia's saying about doing a fast over a certain period of time, is there a time limit for training that you should do or not?
It's based on recovery capacity and the dose response. So 40 minutes, 3, 4, 5 times a week is probably okay. Now, doing 40 minutes every day, like more than that, yeah, it could be really bad for you. You want to be able to recover for it. What we typically see in studies is that elevated cortisol levels typically occur when liver glycogen becomes more depleted. So that's the first kind of energy substrate port that gets depleted over time. Then it's muscle glycogen. Then eventually, when you've got no body fat and you no muscle, it's your brain glycogen. Then you die. What they typically find is the cortisol levels will elevate, so you've got a disproportionate recovery response to your intense training. The problem with those studies is they don't really measure long-term outcomes. So it's like saying, oh, I go to the gym 3 times a week, therefore my testosterone's 200% higher after a workout, or growth hormone is 1,000% higher after a workout. Well, that's an acute response. How does that reflect upon your body composition, recovery, and skill capacity to develop over time in relationship to the cortisol level? So it's a mechanistic market kind of reductionist viewpoint. It doesn't give an idea of what is actually happening to your body and how it's responding to the training itself. So you find that dose response based on your own recovery metrics. So that's why I don't give out very generic programs. It's like, for example, Rich Smith, Keto Pro. He could train at the gym for an hour and a half every day. I can't. I can do an hour, maybe 3 times a week. I've got a different recovery capacity to him. So it's very individual.
Yeah, because when I was big, when I used to work out at the gym, that was just to work out how the vending machine would give me some chocolate. But
yeah, if you're stronger as well, you can bash it a bit harder.
Yeah, that's true. We're all going around Sandra's later. We're all going to have Scotch eggs later on. That's the perfect carnivore meal if you get the right crumb on it. Sorry, so I also... What's this? Is this a question or is it... Oh, it's you. Sorry, Jonathan. There's so much going on here. It's hard to keep track and no one's putting Q.
I'll tell more of my subscribers to stay home.
No. But it's just where there's a question. If it's marked QQQ, it's a lot easier to see. And I don't want to miss anyone's...
I have that same problem because my screen... My hand is currently halfway between the distance of my camera and my screen, so I can barely see the little writing buttons.
Yeah, it's not ideal. So I did fasting for the first 3 years of carnivore, and I did fasting before that on keto. I haven't done fasting since working with Jonathan. So there you go, Jonathan. That's someone basically clarifying what you're saying. Because I know that Lauren Tucker did a dry fast, and she said she
just released a video on it.
Yeah, and I just don't know if I would find that. I just don't know. I think I'd want to try it out sake, but I personally don't see why I would want to do a dry fast. It's
easier, Carl. It'll surprise you. Your head might not get around it until you try it, but it is easier than water fasting. What you could do if you want to sort of ease into it is do intermittent dry fasting. So, for example, you do 1 meal a day, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That will take you, say, an hour, I don't know. Then don't drink or eat anything for the remaining 23 hours. So that'll give you an idea of how you feel. Then each time, push it back. So, breakfast one day, skip the next day, try lunch the next day, skip the next day, miss breakfast, miss lunch, then do dinner the next day. Before you know it, you've accumulated 20, 30, 40, 50 hour dry fasts.
Because the interesting thing I saw, I got invited to on their Substack to do a chat a couple of weeks back, and Lauren was saying there that you naturally assume you're going to dehydrate because you're not taking water in, but very quickly you carry on peeing. So that liquid is coming from somewhere if you're not bringing it in. So it shows you how
Metabolic water.
versatile.
Remember what I said about the fat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much. It's and I found that quite surprising, really. But you know, I just
It will shock you, Carl. Give it, not your doctor or anything, but give it a try. It will surprise you.
So, do you
What was
need
the
to?
results?
I haven't seen the video yet, but I know
Oh, right,
she
okay.
released it shortly, isn't she, Jonathan? Or has it come out today?
It just came out like an hour
right.
ago or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
To watch.
Do you have to prime? Is it advisable to prime? I heard people talk about priming before they fast, as in making sure that their body is ample with whatever. What would you say on that,
That's
John?
based on. It's all speculative. My answer isn't necessarily the right answer. Mechanistically, my opinion is that you shouldn't be in a stressed out, underslept, underrecovered state first. So if you're eating normally the days prior, especially on a carnivore primal style diet, you'll probably be fine. But what I wouldn't then do is then say, oh, the day before I'm going to have 10 scoops of electrolytes, because then you've increased the mineral balance of your body. Your osmotic balance has shifted, so therefore you've got more minerals, less water going in. So you have to match those minerals with more water. Then when you drink more water, you've down-regulated your aldosterone levels, which means then you're peeing out more. But then the next day, when your water consumption understanding of your brain is still quite high, you'll be pissing out more minerals that you're stored in your body. Therefore, you'll get dehydrated and cramp quicker in the fast. So my idea is eat normally for a week. Maybe the day before, just have a bit more just to be sure. So if you have, I don't know, 3 tablespoons of salt, do 4, something like that, just a bit more.
Right, okay. Because I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be able to do it this week, so I've got too much on. But I think next week I've got quite a easy week at home. Or no week's easy, but I've got a week at home. I might try and do the so that's like no liquid whatsoever. Right, so
you can brush your teeth and wash your hands and don't smell to have a shower. That's a hard and dry fast. I'm not totally convinced there's much difference. I would still be hygienic, just so you feel a bit better in yourself, Yeah,
because that's what they don't even shower or anything, isn't that right? The whole
Correct.
soap, because obviously your skin supposed to be bringing in.
You will secrete more oil through your fat ducts. You'll produce your sebum, yes, but you're giving your body another problem to deal with when you're already trying to do something hard. For the sake of what 1% benefit, I don't know.
Just I think you're right. I've got to test it out. I've got to find out. Right, we've just been going just over an hour, people. So if there's no more forthcoming questions, I'll start to wrap up. Is there anything you want to say or add, Lydia?
No, I'm just looking forward to your results, Carl. You're going to take one for the team.
Oh, so you're not coming in with me then?
Not with the kids off. No,
well,
my
true.
stress level's already high.
Well, it's going to be interesting because my wife's been away the last couple of weeks seeing her family, and she's coming back on Friday, and that's why I'm thinking next week, because I know her being away, she will be wanting to go to somewhere like McDonald's at some point.
Right.
So if I can say I'm on a fast, then I can get out of it. So that might be a clever timing to do that. Jonathan, is there anything you want to add to wrap up with, and before we shut down?
Nothing particular. No, I'm very glad you invited me on. I had good fun as always. Feel free to invite me in the future. I quite enjoy these.
Well, Jonathan, I think you should come and join the crew and come and be part of our regular. Your knowledge is
put me in the stable as an occasional
a regular. You want to be our all brand. Yeah, you're going to be our all brand. You're going to be our regular.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention. Anyone subscribed to my channel watching this right now or in the replay. Also subscribe to Carl on the left
Primal
here. Primal Lifestyle is the YouTube channel. If you're in the UK, you like fresh, properly farmed food, we're interested in meetups, different events like what going on in, I believe it's the south east of England area. Check out Lydia from Carnivore Bod below.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, John. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
So thank you for everyone. We're back again next Monday. We're hoping to have another special guest. And obviously, we'll make sure Jonathan becomes our all brand and make sure he keep him on regular.
Yeah.